Welcome to Wickerson Studios. My name is Michael Wickerson, and I am looking at LUNCHBOX pretty intensely now, trying to figure out exactly what can happen here within this plugin. And how I kind of come at plugins is fairly simple. I go online and I grab as many things as I can. I'll usually follow scripts online and file until I get some sample scripts up and running. But I find there really isn't too much in LUNCHBOX that's really out there that's playfully or kind of just for creative reasons going through on a visual sense, like say for artists or designers, to understand what really it means to create a data set, create data tables, create JSON files and XML files and CSV files, and then swap between them and then produce some interesting grids. So what I do is I go in and I kind of write these till they're all up and running and show some examples, very simple use of all the nodes. I don't like it when I can't get a node working, and I like to figure it out. This one's fairly nice because it actually talks a little bit about the creating graph and how to get a view chart coming up within your Grasshopper Rhino window, and also a data view, an actual, what do they call it, a data grid, creating a data grid. So once that's up and running, I kind of want to move right onto the nodes to do things. And initially I get in there and I was playing with attractors. So think about these attractor points driving kind of a surface, which is exactly what I want, the distance of kind of some points over here. And so I use a simple script to get us started, but I'm going to leave that one off and go into the details of this one. Anytime you get my scripts off of line on GitHub, you'll get the full scripts as I develop them, and I plan on just slowly working towards more and more iterations until I have a master script I'll give out. And I do have tons of resources on my GitHub for that, and I do offer some private repositories through my Patreon. But first thing you want to do is you want to come to a script and you want to take the one you're interested in, ungroup it. And then what I try and tell people to do is don't group it again until you understand it. And when you understand it, give it kind of a group color of what makes sense to you. This is actually a pretty nice piece of data. It's pretty awesome surface edit, which I absolutely obsess about because I cast a lot of metal and I like to simulate surfaces. But what you can see here is I just started with a rectangle, and that rectangle itself was put up on another plane, so I could populate it by points, and then I quickly move those points away. Those are the points that whatever the data that would generate these points, number-wise or anything, would influence this surface. So that's the sole point of kind of thinking about what I would say is machine learning, in a sense of how can I get data, not clean data, because I'm really not that interested in getting into the stats of what the purpose of all this, but this is just easy data visualization. The wave attractor point takes those attractor points, and then I produced a little series of sine curve. It's not really important that there's sine curve nodes, but it gives it a little bit of flex. And I do like to create a nice linear quality. These will be the target points. So from these points back here, which are the attractor points, so these target points, you do have an attractor domain. It will give you a value, but you can adjust the domain all the way down to what you want to 0 and all the way to 1 to kind of make reference to that. That's not going to drive my data because I'm not doing anything with it, but I am producing vectors. And to visualize vectors, you can see exactly what's happening. There's an interesting node here that's a little more complex than the node above it, which was a tractor, which I thought was nice. This one actually implies a frequency in it. So what you can do is you can play with the frequency tab, that as you change it, you'll see the frequency changes about what direction those points are going. You can only imagine how that affects the surface of something. And there's evidence of it right here. The distances are numbers, so I'm definitely going to use those differences to amplification, and not only to amplify so I can see the vector, but also amplify the movement of where I might want to make a NURBS curve from these points. So that allows me an amplification node as well, that I can really have a crazy finesse over top of this form. So you're seeing the data that's being driven by other data that I can make do other things. So it's like different iterations or a little more derivatives of what the data was coming in. And I think that's really the point of it. Taking this node that's so smart when it comes, and it's a written script that's actually, you start to envision what's actually being written in the hard script. And then you've got these wonderful curves that are being generated because I ran through this geometry as a list. So when I went in, I could apply a gene pool to the seed count. So the seed count allows me, with these curves that drive this geometry, to change them randomly by 1 to change them randomly, 10% to change them 20%, and in doing 100%. And when I do that, I have a lot of finesse on how those curves are going to be affected, and then it's a simple game of lofting them up, lofting them after lifting them up, lofting them up, grabbing the edges, and doing a little extrusion back in the Y direction because I'm staying pretty planar. And I just put on a little color node that you can see what's happening. So there is a wonderful geometric form that if I wanted to go in and bake, I could throw it to a layer. I could come back in with my surface edits to really have a sense of what's being looked at. I do like the reflective environment map. Select on it, and there you go. You've got a pretty wild form to take a look at. And for you to kind of wrap your head around that, it's pretty sweet. So I'm just going to grab a little box here, throw it on turntable, and know that that's using a little bit of the machine learning, not quite machine learning, but definitely the ideas behind doing things in Grasshopper. But with the plugin, I'm able to extend what I was maybe going to do with vanilla Grasshopper with those special nodes. And I love this little object in patinaed blue. After casting that in stainless or cast iron or aluminum, sounds like something that would be really up my alley because I like to do things like that. So thanks very much for watching. Michael Wickerson, Wickerson Studio.